All hands on deck. It's time for another round of naval warfare. Yep, Radar Mission is another battleship game. Technically, this is the third one, as Navy Blue came out in Japan earlier, and depending on whether you consider Power Mission to be a battleship game. But actually, this was the second one that we saw in the West. It's got a lot to stand up against, as I've already waxed plenty lyrical about my love for Pack-In Video's Battleship. Radar Mission is actually just as good. That's a bold claim, and you may be thinking at this point that I'm some oddball Battleship fanboy. I promise I'm not. I don't really care much for board games at all. It's just that these two titles have been a couple of stellar early releases. The music was a real plus point for me in the earlier game, and while none of the tracks are quite as awesome as that battle music from before, I really must praise the variation in Radar Mission. The song changes depending on how your battle is progressing. If the enemy gets you down to your last ship, the music speaks of foreboding dangers. Similarly, if you're not far from victory, the tune becomes more marching. The sound effects are effectively used too, and sound great, with a little klaxon-like aid if you miss by one square. Graphically, it's certainly on a par as well. The overview of the grid is smaller, but everything you need is there, and you get a handful of information boxes telling you what enemy craft remain, as well as your turn count. You can switch easily between your field and the opponent's with a touch of the A button, and the radar sweep across the grid looks pretty cool. The firing and sinking animations are very good. There are two game modes. Game A is the normal battleship-style game, although there is a storyline to the campaign. You have a few options, an 8x8, 10x10 or 12x12 grid, and you can toggle the aircraft or near-miss sirens on or off, as well as Lucky Shot, which I'll detail later. The game progresses in a campaign mode, with 3 levels. This doesn't sound like much, but the levels take time. The first 2 in the campaign are at sea, and the final one sees you attacking the enemy HQ with tanks and a runway in lieu of the usual naval fighters. You only get a battleship and a destroyer with which to do this though. You have the usual assortment of ships to place and fight. Also, there's an option to launch an aircraft that looks like an FA-18 or something, that will take off, flying around between a few different squares, and you've got to take this out as well. I presume that if you manage to destroy the aircraft carrier before it takes off, it happens around turn 15 on the first level, then the plane goes down with it, but I've never managed this so can't tell you. Whereas before you had a range of special weapons at your disposal, unfortunately they don't exist here, although there is something called a lucky shot. If you manage to fire a missile onto one of these predetermined lucky shot spaces, a few different effects can occur on your next turn, such as a spread shot or instant destruction of any ship hit. Game B is quite different, as in it's basically an entirely different game. Here you control a submarine moving left and right, targeting a number of enemy ships above the water. You move slowly when at the surface, but can increase your speed below depths. You need to surface to shoot anything, and the enemy submarine can still destroy you below. Fire torpedoes with A and machine guns with B, with unlimited ammo. The torpedoes are most useful for enemies at range. There are upgrades that you can buy between stages depending on how successful you've been. These increase your propeller speed, double your torpedoes to 2, and improve the sonar that you can use underwater to find enemies. Sure, it's not as addictive as the main game, but I have to give real credit for going the extra mile in adding this gameplay mode. Particularly notable here are the graphics, and the Jaws-like theme music that speeds up when submerged. I really like these two games. Power Mission, not so much, and can't choose between them. Maybe I slightly prefer this one. Fortunately, I have both, so I don't have to choose. Gosh, maybe I am a fanboy.